The first thing you need to understand about Dubai is that it's a city built on lies. Glittering towers rising from sand, artificial islands shaped like palms, and people pretending to be richer than they actually are. Perfect place for my wife Vanessa to feel at home. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Cameron Field, 42 years old, owner of Field Luxury Motors outside Boston. I sell cars to people who want everyone to know they have money. Bentleys, Maseratis, the occasional Lamborghini to some tech kid who made it big. I understand the value of image because I live in that world every day. What I didn't understand was how completely I'd been fooled by my own wife's performance. The Dubai trip was supposed to be our second honeymoon. 7 years of marriage, and Vanessa claimed we needed to reconnect. She'd been distant for months, buried in her travel blog and Instagram account where she played the role of glamorous lifestyle influencer, always posing, always performing, always looking for the perfect shot to show her followers how amazing her life was. I should have known something was wrong when she booked separate beds. "It's just for better sleep," she said, not looking up from her phone as we checked into the Burj Al Arab. "You snore, Cameron." "I don't snore. I've lived with myself for 42 years. Our suite was ridiculous. Gold everything. A view of the Persian Gulf that probably cost more per night than most people make in a month." Vanessa immediately started taking photos, posing by the windows, arranging her designer luggage for the perfect shot. She looked beautiful, I'll give her that. Auburn hair catching the desert light, wearing a white sundress that showed off the tan she'd been working on for weeks before the trip. "Get in the shot," she said, barely glancing at me. "I thought this was for us, not your followers." She lowered her phone and looked at me like I'd suggested we burn money. "Everything is content, Cameron. You should understand that by now." I grabbed a beer from the minibar and stepped onto the balcony. 20 floors below, the city sprawled out in impossible geometry. Vanessa joined me a few minutes later, but she might as well have been on another continent. She was texting someone, fingers flying across her screen with the kind of urgency she never showed when responding to me. "Who's so important?" I asked. "Just work stuff. Brand partnerships. You wouldn't understand." That stung more than it should have. I'd built a business from nothing, understood marketing and social media better than she gave me credit for. But Vanessa had always treated my success like it was somehow less legitimate than her online fame. At the hotel pool, surrounded by other wealthy tourists and locals showing off their wealth, Vanessa made her first real mistake. We were sitting at the poolside bar, and I'd tried to put my arm around her shoulders. She shrugged me off like I was diseased. "I'd rather sleep with a homeless guy than with you," she said, loud enough for the couple next to us to hear. I laughed. Actually laughed, because the alternative was making a scene that would end up on someone's social media. "Good thing there aren't any homeless people in Dubai, honey. They deport them." She didn't think that was funny. She went back to her phone, typing something that made her smile in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. When she got up to use the bathroom, leaving her phone on the table, I made my second mistake of the trip. I looked. The message thread was with someone named Liam. The most recent text made me freeze. "Tonight, finally. Can't wait to feel you again. This charade with Cameron is almost over." His response, "Patience, beautiful. After tonight, you'll never have to pretend to love him again." I sat there in the Dubai heat, watching wealthy people splash in an infinity pool, and felt something inside me go very cold and very calm. I took out my own phone and airdropped myself a backup of her entire message thread with Liam. Then I ordered another beer and waited for my wife to come back. She returned 5 minutes later, glowing with anticipation for whatever she had planned for that evening. "I was thinking," I said, "maybe we should have dinner at that rooftop place tonight. Just the two of us." Actually, I'm pretty tired. I was hoping to just order room service and go to bed early. Alone? She looked at me sharply. Of course alone. What kind of question is that? Just checking, since you'd rather sleep with homeless guys and all. That evening, while Vanessa took the longest shower in human history, I read through 6 months of messages between my wife and Liam Sutter. He was some kind of digital nomad, one of those guys who posts inspirational quotes about living your best life while traveling the world on Daddy's trust fund. 35 years old, never been married, collected experiences like other people collected stamps. The messages started innocent enough, comments on her Instagram posts, then direct messages about travel recommendations. But by month 3, they were planning secret meetups. By month 5, they were talking about how to get rid of me. By month 6, they were planning this Dubai trip as their romantic getaway, with me as unwitting cover. The most recent messages were from that afternoon. Liam was already in Dubai, staying at a hotel 20 minutes away. They were meeting at midnight at some rooftop bar in the Marina district. Vanessa had told him I'd be passed out drunk by then, apparently my predictable evening routine of having a few beers and watching CNN. When she came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a hotel robe and looking like she was getting ready for the most important night of her life, I was sitting in the chair by the window, still reading her messages. Cameron? Her voice had a strange note in it. What are you doing? Learning about your travel plans. I held up her phone. Looks like you've got quite an adventure planned for tonight. The color drained from her face. That's my private phone. And Liam's your private boyfriend. I get it now. I stood up, amazingly calm. The separate beds, the constant texting, the way you look at me like I'm something you stepped in. You've been planning this for months. She tried to grab the phone from me, but I held it out of reach. Cameron, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You want out of our marriage, but you want to do it on your terms. String me along until you've got your exit strategy figured out. Use me as cover for your romantic getaway with your spiritual guru boyfriend. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. I scrolled through more messages, reading them out loud. Liam says, once we're together in Dubai, we can start planning our future. You say, I can't wait to be free of this fake life. Real touching stuff, Vanessa. She sat down on the bed, and for a moment I thought she might actually try to explain or apologize. Instead, she doubled down. You're boring, Cameron. You're predictable and boring, and I want out. I want excitement. I want adventure. I want to feel alive again. When's the last time you made me feel alive? When's the last time you gave me the chance? This isn't working. It hasn't been working for years. I want a divorce. I nodded, still eerily calm. Okay, but not tonight. I walked over to the hotel phone and called the front desk. Hi, this is Cameron Field in the Royal Suite. I need to check out immediately. Yes, tonight. And I'll need the earliest possible flight back to Boston. Vanessa stared at me. What are you doing? Saving myself the humiliation of watching my wife sneak out to meet her boyfriend. You want your freedom? You've got it. Right now. I started packing my suitcase. The room's paid for through tomorrow night. Enjoy your romantic evening with Liam. But you might want to call him and let him know you'll be paying for your own flight home. Cameron, wait. Oh, and Vanessa? I pulled out my wallet and removed all the credit cards with her name on them. These are canceled as of tomorrow morning. Hope your boyfriend's feeling generous. I left her sitting on the bed in her hotel robe, staring at the credit cards I'd dropped on the nightstand. The last thing I heard as the door closed behind me was her phone ringing, probably Liam, wondering why his spiritual goddess was calling 3 hours early. The flight back to Boston gave me 11 hours to plan what came next. Derek Morrison, my general manager, was waiting for me at Logan Airport with a coffee and a knowing look. Derek's been with me since I opened the dealership 8 years ago, a grizzled former Marine who treats luxury cars like precision weapons and has an instinct for people's bullshit that borders on supernatural. How was Dubai? He asked as we walked to his truck. Educational. And Vanessa? Still there. Probably will be for a while. Derek nodded like this made perfect sense. What do you need me to do? This is why I pay Derek twice what any other dealership would. He doesn't ask stupid questions or offer sympathy I don't want. He just gets ready to solve problems. First, call the bank. Remove Vanessa from all joint accounts except the household checking. Leave just enough in there to cover utilities and groceries for a month. Done. What else? Change the locks on the house, all of them. Garage codes, too. Security system? New codes. And Derek? Have Ava pull Vanessa's credit card records for the last 6 months. Every transaction. I want to know everywhere she's been and everything she's bought. Ava Chen is my assistant, 26 years old and scary smart about technology. She handles my social media marketing, manages my online inventory, and has a talent for making problems disappear that would make the CIA jealous. By the time we got to the dealership, Ava had already started working. She'd pulled up Vanessa's Instagram account on her laptop and was scrolling through months of posts. Boss, your wife's been busy. Look at this. She showed me a post from 3 weeks ago. Vanessa at some trendy Boston restaurant, tagged with location and time. According to the credit card records, she'd paid for 2 meals. She wasn't with you that night, Ava said. You were at the Barrett-Jackson auction in Arizona. Keep digging. Over the next 2 hours, Ava built a timeline that would have impressed a forensic accountant. Vanessa had been meeting Liam for months, always when I was traveling for business. Expensive dinners, weekend trips to New York and Miami that she'd claimed were influencer events. Even a romantic getaway to Napa Valley that she'd told me was a brand partnership with a winery. Every lie was documented in her own social media posts and credit card statements. What's the plan? Derek asked. Patience. She'll be back in a few days, probably expecting to find me devastated and willing to work things out. Instead, she's going to find out what happens when you try to play games with someone who sells to millionaires for a living. And Liam? I smiled for the first time since Dubai. Liam's about to learn that actions have consequences. The first step was simple. I called Brenda Kowalski, our neighbor, who runs the local gossip network with the efficiency of a Fortune 500 company. Brenda knows everything that happens in our suburb and has never met a secret she couldn't share. Cameron, how was Dubai? Vanessa's been posting the most amazing photos. Actually, Brenda, that's why I'm calling. I need some advice about a delicate situation. 20 minutes later, Brenda knew just enough to be dangerous. I'd told her that Vanessa had been acting strange in Dubai, that I'd come home early because of concerning behavior, and that I was worried about her judgment lately. I didn't mention Liam directly, but I planted enough seeds that Brenda's imagination would fill in the blanks. You know, Brenda said, I did notice she's been getting a lot of deliveries lately. Flowers, packages. I assumed they were from you. What kind of packages? Designer stuff. And I saw her leaving at odd hours sometimes when you were traveling. I thought maybe she was planning a surprise for you. She was planning something, all right. Step 2 was more technical. Ava had been monitoring Vanessa's social media accounts, not hacking, just watching her public posts and the metadata attached to them. Vanessa had been sloppy about location services, and her posts created a detailed map of everywhere she'd been. Look at this, Ava said, pulling up an Instagram post from 2 months ago. She posted this photo from that new rooftop bar downtown, tagged the location, posted it at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. According to her story, she was there for a girls' night with Sienna. Sienna Walsh was Vanessa's best friend and fellow influencer, a blonde shark who treated social media like a competitive sport. They'd been friends since college and fed off each other's drama like vampires. But look at the credit card records, Ava continued. She paid for 2 drinks, but Sienna was posting from her own apartment that same night. Timeline doesn't match. So she was with someone else. Someone who paid cash or used his own card. Someone she didn't want a paper trail with. Step 3 was the most satisfying. I started making calls to Vanessa's brand partners, not to sabotage her directly, but to ask concerned husband questions about her upcoming commitments. "Hi, this is Cameron Field, Vanessa's husband. She's been having some health issues lately, and I wanted to make sure her travel schedule isn't too demanding." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Actually, we've been trying to reach Vanessa about some concerns with her recent content. Some of her location tags haven't matched up with our campaign requirements." By the end of the day, I'd learned that 3 of Vanessa's biggest sponsors were already questioning her credibility. Apparently, she'd been claiming to visit restaurants and hotels that she'd never actually been to, using stock photos and fake location tags to create content for brands that were paying her for authentic experiences. My wife wasn't just a cheater. She was a fraud. Derek found me in my office at 8 p.m., staring out at the lot full of cars that represented years of honest work. "Vanessa's flight lands tomorrow at 3:15 p.m., he said. "Logan, Terminal E." "How do you know that?" "Ava's good with computers, real good." "Is she coming home?" "According to her Uber app, she's requested a ride to the house, scheduled for 4 p.m. I leaned back in my chair. "Then I guess we'd better make sure she gets a proper welcome." That night, I sat in my newly secured house, drinking a beer and reading through more of Vanessa's messages with Liam. The conversation from earlier that day was particularly enlightening. "Vanessa. Cameron found out and left me here, cut off my credit cards." Liam. "Don't worry, beautiful. This just speeds up our timeline. You can stay with me until the divorce is final." Vanessa. "What about money? I can't access any of our accounts." Liam. "I'll take care of everything. We'll figure it out together." Vanessa. "I love you. I can't wait to start our real life." Liam. "Pack light. We might need to be flexible about where we go first." I took a screenshot of that conversation and forwarded it to myself. Then I opened my laptop and started researching Liam Sutter's social media presence, his business interests, and his financial situation. What I found was very interesting indeed. Liam Sutter was not the successful digital nomad he pretended to be on Instagram. According to public records, business filings, and some creative research by Ava, he was living off a trust fund that was rapidly depleting. His spiritual wellness consulting business was basically non-existent, and he'd been bouncing between short-term rentals and Airbnbs for the past 2 years because he couldn't afford to maintain a permanent address. My wife was leaving me for a broke fake guru who posted inspirational quotes about abundance while maxing out credit cards. "He's been staying at extended stay hotels," Ava reported, "paying weekly rates because he can't afford monthly deposits. His car is a leased Tesla that he's 3 payments behind on." What about his social media? All fake. The photos from Bali and Thailand are from last year, when his trust fund was healthier. Recent posts are all from Massachusetts, but he's been using old photos and fake location tags to maintain his image. So Vanessa wasn't just cheating with a loser. She was cheating with a loser who was running the same kind of social media scam she was. Perfect. I decided not to meet Vanessa at the airport myself. Instead, I arranged for someone else to be there. Derek had a cousin who worked airport security, and for the price of a nice dinner, he was willing to make sure that Logan Airport's free Wi-Fi was temporarily unavailable in Terminal E, right around the time Vanessa's flight landed. A small technical glitch that would force anyone trying to call an Uber to use the more expensive taxi line or find alternative transportation. At 3:45 p.m., I was sitting in my office when Ava's phone buzzed with a notification. "It's starting," she said, pulling up a live Instagram story. "Someone's filming at Logan Arrivals." The video was shaky phone footage from Brenda's cousin Maria, who happened to work at the airport and had been tipped off that something interesting might happen at Terminal E. The video showed Vanessa emerging from customs, looking exhausted and dragging an expensive suitcase, scanning the crowd for a ride that wasn't coming. Then Liam appeared. Even through the grainy phone video, you could see this wasn't the romantic reunion either of them had planned. Liam looked desperate, unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes that screamed, "Slept in my car." Vanessa looked confused and disappointed. The audio was mostly airport noise, but Maria had gotten close enough to catch fragments of their conversation. "Told you not to come here. Nowhere else to go. Supposed to be different. Need to talk about money." Then Vanessa's voice, clear and sharp. "This isn't what you promised me." And Liam's response, "Plans change, Ness. We need to be realistic about our situation." The video ended with Vanessa stalking toward the taxi line, Liam trailing behind her with both their bags, looking like a bellhop who wasn't going to get tipped. "Upload that to YouTube," I told Ava. "Anonymous account. Title it Influencer Meltdown at Logan Airport." Already done. I also sent copies to 3 local gossip blogs and that Instagram account that posts celebrity drama. By 6 p.m., the video had been viewed 15,000 times. By 8 p.m., it was trending on local Twitter. By 10 p.m., Vanessa's own followers were sharing it and speculating about what had happened to their favorite lifestyle influencer. The comments were brutal. "Is this the same Vanessa who was just posting about her amazing Dubai experience? Who's the sketchy guy? Definitely not her husband. She looks like she hasn't slept in days. What happened to living her best life? This is so messy. I'm here for it." At 11 p.m., my doorbell rang. I looked through the security camera and saw Vanessa standing on my front porch, still dragging her suitcase, looking like she'd been through a war. She was alone. I opened the door, but left the chain lock engaged. "Cameron, we need to talk." "Do we? Because according to your boyfriend, you two were going to figure everything out together." "That's not... It's complicated." "I'm sure it is. Where's Liam?" We're staying at a hotel tonight. Just temporarily, until we can work things out." "Which hotel?" She hesitated. "The extended stay on Route 1. I almost laughed. The extended stay was where we put customers when their cars needed overnight service and they couldn't afford anything nicer. $49 a night, and it looked like it cost half that. Living the dream, I see. "Cameron, please. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. I want to come home." "No." "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, this isn't your home anymore. You made your choice in Dubai. You chose Liam and your real life together. How's that working out?" Through the crack in the door, I could see her starting to cry. A week ago, that would have broken my heart. Tonight, it just looked like another performance. "I don't have anywhere else to go. You have Liam. You have Sienna. You have all those followers who love your authentic lifestyle content. Figure it out." I started to close the door, but she put her hand against it. "Cameron, wait. I know you're angry, but I'm still your wife. You can't just lock me out of my own house." "Actually, I can. You abandoned the marriage when you decided to run off with your boyfriend. Legally, you established residency elsewhere when you chose not to come home with me from Dubai. Check with a lawyer if you want, but you'll find out I'm right." This was a bluff. I had no idea if it was legally sound, but Vanessa had never been good with details like that. "What about my things?" "What about them? My clothes, my makeup, my equipment for my blog. I'll have Derek pack everything up and put it in storage. You can pick it up once you figure out where you're living." This is insane. You're being vindictive and cruel. I'm being practical. You wanted out of this marriage, Vanessa. Congratulations. You're out. I closed the door and listened to her cry on the front porch for about 10 minutes before she finally called another Uber. Through the security camera, I watched her drag her suitcase back down the driveway, looking around the neighborhood like she was seeing it for the first time. Maybe she was. Maybe she'd been so busy planning her escape that she'd never really looked at what she was leaving behind. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "Saw the airport video. Kid's got a good eye for drama. What's next?" I poured myself a drink and sat in my living room, surrounded by 7 years of marriage that Vanessa had been willing to throw away for a broke wannabe guru and some Instagram excitement. What was next was simple. I was going to make sure that everyone who had ever followed Vanessa's perfect lifestyle content got to see exactly how that story really ended. The next morning, Vanessa's Instagram story was a masterpiece of damage control. She'd posted a series of carefully cropped photos from Dubai with captions about taking time to focus on personal growth and making difficult but necessary life changes. She looked glamorous and mysterious, like someone who had chosen adventure over comfort. What her followers couldn't see was that the photos were taken in the hotel bathroom, the only place with good lighting in the extended stay motel room she was sharing with Liam. I knew this because Ava had been monitoring the metadata on Vanessa's posts, and the location data told a very different story than the carefully crafted captions. "She's trying to control the narrative," Ava said, showing me her laptop screen, making it look like this was all her choice, like she's some kind of brave woman choosing authenticity over materialism. How's that working for her? Not great. Her engagement is down 60% since yesterday. People can smell desperation through a phone screen. That afternoon, I drove to the extended stay hotel, not to confront Vanessa, but to have a conversation with the hotel manager about their guest policies and payment procedures. It was a perfectly innocent business inquiry from a local entrepreneur who occasionally needed to house out-of-town clients. What I learned was very interesting. Liam had paid for 3 nights with a credit card that was declined on the second attempt. The hotel was currently running his backup card every few hours, hoping it would eventually go through. If it didn't clear by checkout time tomorrow, they'd be asked to leave. "Happens more than you'd think," the manager told me. "People think they can float on credit until they figure something else out. Usually doesn't work." I also learned that there had been noise complaints from other guests. Apparently, Liam and Vanessa were having loud arguments about money, about plans that weren't working out, about whose fault their situation was. "The woman keeps making phone calls," the manager said. "Sounds like she's trying to borrow money from friends. Not having much luck." That evening, Sienna Walsh posted her own Instagram story. It was a screenshot of a text conversation, with the names blurred out but the context clear enough. "Can I stay with you for a few days? Just until I figure things out. I'm sorry, but Marcus and I can't get involved in whatever's going on with you and Cameron. It's not about Cameron. I just need help. I saw the airport video. This looks really messy, and I can't have that kind of drama around my brand right now. I thought we were friends. We are friends, but I have to protect myself too." The caption on Sienna's story was, "Sometimes being a good friend means setting boundaries, sending love and light to everyone going through difficult transitions." Translation: Vanessa was on her own. The comments on Sienna's post were savage. Her followers immediately figured out who the conversation was about, and they were not sympathetic to Vanessa's situation. So much for loyalty. Vanessa really thought her friends would support her cheating on her husband. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This is what happens when you burn bridges for a man. By the next morning, Vanessa had lost 3,000 followers and 2 brand partnerships. Her lifestyle blog, which had been her primary source of income, was hemorrhaging subscribers as people realized that her perfect life content had been built on lies. But I wasn't done yet. Derek had been busy making phone calls to people in the luxury car community, dealers, collectors, auction houses, people who knew me professionally and respected the business I'd built. The story he told was simple and true. My wife had been living a double life, cheating on me while using our joint finances to fund her deception, and now she was trying to play victim on social media. "Cameron's a good guy," Derek would say. "Built his business from nothing, always dealt straight with everyone. His wife took advantage of his success and his trust. Now she's trying to make him look like the bad guy because her affair didn't work out the way she planned." Word travels fast in small business communities. Within 48 hours, everyone who mattered in my professional world knew the truth about what had happened. They also knew that Vanessa's social media presence had been largely fraudulent, that she'd been using fake locations and stock photos to deceive her sponsors. The third night after Dubai, Vanessa called me at midnight. "Cameron, I need help." "With what?" "Money, just enough to get back on my feet. I'll pay you back." "How?" "Your Instagram career is over, your blog is fading, and your boyfriend can't afford a decent hotel room." "That's not fair." "It's completely fair. You made your choices, Vanessa. You chose excitement over stability, adventure over commitment, Liam over me. How's that adventure working out?" "He's not. This isn't what he promised me." "Of course it's not. He's a con artist, just like you. The only difference is that you were better at it." "I wasn't conning anyone." "You were conning me for months. You were conning your sponsors with fake content. You were conning your followers with a lifestyle you couldn't actually afford without my money. And now you're trying to con me into bailing you out of the mess you created." There was a long silence on the phone. "I want to come home," she said finally. "You don't have a home here anymore." "Cameron, please. I made a mistake. I can fix this." "No, you can't. You didn't make a mistake, Vanessa. You made a series of calculated decisions over several months. You planned this, you executed it, and now you get to live with the consequences." "What am I supposed to do?" "Figure it out. You're a smart, capable woman who built a social media following from nothing. Use those skills to build something real this time." "And if I can't?" "Then you'll learn what it's like to live in the real world instead of the fantasy you've been selling online." I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, the extended stay hotel manager called my office. "Mr. Field? This is Tom Rodriguez from the extended stay. Your wife asked me to call you about her bill." "She's not my wife anymore, and I'm not responsible for her bills." "She said you'd say that. She also said to tell you that she's prepared to make this very public and very ugly if you don't help her." I laughed. "Tom, do me a favor. Tell her that ship has already sailed. Her making this public is exactly what I'm counting on." Vanessa showed up at my dealership on Thursday afternoon, looking like a woman who hadn't slept in days. She'd lost weight, her expensive clothes were wrinkled, and her usually perfect makeup was smudged. She looked desperate, which was exactly how I wanted her to look. Derek saw her coming through the showroom and intercepted her before she could reach my office. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I need to talk to my husband. Mr. Field is with a customer, and you're trespassing on private property. This is ridiculous. Cameron, I know you can hear me." I could hear her, along with everyone else in the showroom. 3 potential customers were staring at the scene, and my sales staff was trying to pretend nothing unusual was happening. I came out of my office, calm and professional. "Vanessa, you're disrupting my business. You need to leave." "We need to talk." "We talked. You made your position clear in Dubai, and I made mine clear at the house. There's nothing left to discuss." "I want my car keys." This was interesting. Vanessa's car was a BMW X5 that was registered in both our names but financed through the dealership. Technically, she had a right to drive it. Practically, I had the keys and the spare keys, and the car was parked in my secured lot. "Which car?" "You know which car, my BMW." "Oh, that car. The one that's 3 months behind on payments?" This was a lie, but Vanessa had never paid attention to the car payments. They came out of our joint account automatically, and she'd never bothered to learn the details. "That's impossible." "Derek, show Mrs. Field the payment history on the BMW." Derek pulled up a fake spreadsheet on his tablet. Ava had created it that morning, showing a series of declined payments and late fees. It looked completely official. "See, 3 months behind, plus penalties. The finance company has been very patient, but they're ready to repossess." Vanessa stared at the fake document. This can't be right. It's right. When you drained our joint accounts to fund your Dubai adventure and your boyfriend's lifestyle, you left a lot of bills unpaid. Another lie. Our accounts were fine, and all the bills were current. But Vanessa had no way to verify this, since I'd removed her access to our banking. I didn't drain anything. Expensive dinners, weekend trips, designer clothes, hotel rooms for your affairs. It adds up, Vanessa. By now, the entire showroom was listening. My customers were getting a front row seat to my wife's public meltdown, and she was too desperate to realize how bad this looked. I want to see the real records. These are the real records. Derek, show her the repossession notice. Derek handed her another fake document, this one showing that the BMW was scheduled to be picked up by the finance company within 48 hours. Vanessa read it twice, her face getting paler. What about my things? My clothes? My equipment? Everything's been packed and moved to storage. Here's the address and unit number. I handed her a piece of paper. Rent's paid through the end of the month. After that, it's your responsibility. How am I supposed to pay for storage? I don't have any money. That sounds like a problem you should discuss with Liam. Isn't he taking care of everything? Her face crumpled. Liam's gone. Gone where? I don't know. He left yesterday morning while I was in the shower. Took his stuff and disappeared. Left me with the hotel bill. I felt a moment of genuine surprise. I'd expected Liam to stick around longer, at least until he'd exhausted all possibilities of using Vanessa's connections for his own benefit. Did he say anything? He left a note, said this wasn't working out the way he'd planned, and he needed to realign his energy or some bullshit like that. So your spiritual guru abandoned you when things got difficult. Shocking. Don't be cruel, Cameron. I'm not being cruel. I'm being accurate. You threw away our marriage for a man who ran away the moment he realized you weren't going to be his meal ticket. One of my customers, an older man who'd been looking at a Cadillac, walked over to us. "Excuse me," he said to Vanessa. "I couldn't help overhearing. You're the woman from that airport video, aren't you?" Vanessa looked mortified. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do. My granddaughter showed it to me. You're that Instagram influencer who got caught cheating on her husband. My granddaughter follows you. Well, she used to follow you." "Sir," I said, "this is a private matter." "Oh, I'm not judging," the man continued. "But I am curious. Is it true that you were using fake photos on your social media? Because my granddaughter was really disappointed about that. She said you posted pictures from restaurants you'd never actually been to." Vanessa looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. "I need to go," she said. "Vanessa," I called after her. "The storage unit address is on that paper. You'll need ID to access it." She stopped at the door. "What am I supposed to do, Cameron? I have nothing. No money, no car, no place to live." "You have the same thing everyone else has, a choice. You can feel sorry for yourself and blame everyone else for your problems, or you can figure out how to build something real." "With what? I can't even afford a hotel room." "There are shelters. There are job placement services. There are people who help women in transition." "You want me to go to a homeless shelter?" "I want you to take responsibility for your choices and stop expecting other people to fix the problems you created." She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her trying to decide whether to keep fighting or accept defeat. "This isn't over," she said finally. "Yes, it is." After she left, the customer who'd recognized her came over to me. "That was your wife?" "Ex-wife." "Hell of a thing. But you handled it well. Professional, didn't lose your temper, didn't say anything you shouldn't have said." "I try to keep business and personal separate." "Smart man. Now about that Cadillac. I sold him the car that afternoon. Full price, no negotiation, paid in cash. Sometimes the universe has a sense of humor." That evening, Derek and I were closing up the dealership when Ava showed me her laptop. "Boss, you need to see this." Vanessa had posted a new Instagram story. It was a selfie of her crying in what looked like a parking lot, with a long caption about toxic masculinity and financial abuse and how her narcissistic ex-husband was trying to destroy her life because she'd found the courage to leave an unhappy marriage. The comments were not sympathetic. "Girl, we saw the airport video. You cheated on your husband and got caught. Financial abuse? You mean he stopped paying for your affair? Take some responsibility for your choices. This is embarrassing. Just stop. Maybe get a job instead of posting victim stories on Instagram." The post had been up for 3 hours and already had more negative comments than likes. "She's making it worse for herself," Ava observed. "Good," I said. "Let her keep talking. Every word she posts makes my case stronger." But I wasn't done with Vanessa yet. Not by a long shot. The next phase of my plan required patience and precision. Vanessa was staying at a women's shelter downtown, according to Brenda's network of neighborhood informants. She'd been there for a week, trying to rebuild her social media presence and find some way to generate income. What she didn't know was that I'd been systematically contacting every brand partnership, every potential sponsor, every business that might consider working with her. Not to sabotage her directly, but to provide them with factual information about her recent behavior. "Hi, this is Cameron Field from Field Luxury Motors. I understand you're considering a partnership with my ex-wife, Vanessa Lorne. I wanted to make sure you were aware of some recent developments that might affect your decision." I didn't lie or exaggerate. I simply told the truth. That Vanessa had been using fake locations and stock photos in her content, that she'd been living a fraudulent lifestyle funded by our joint finances while conducting an affair, and that her recent public behavior raised questions about her judgment and reliability. Most businesses thanked me for the information and quietly withdrew their offers. Meanwhile, Ava had been monitoring Vanessa's attempts to rebuild her online presence. She was posting inspirational content about rising from rock bottom and finding strength in adversity, but her follower count continued to drop. People had lost trust in her authenticity, and in the influencer world, trust is the only currency that matters. "She's down to 12,000 followers," Ava reported. "She started with 43,000 before Dubai." "What about engagement?" "Terrible. Her last post got 67 likes, and most of the comments are people telling her to get a real job." On Friday afternoon, Vanessa made her final mistake. She posted a live video on Instagram, sitting in what looked like a coffee shop, talking directly to the camera about her journey and her truth. "I want to set the record straight about what really happened," she said, looking directly into her phone camera. "My ex-husband is a controlling, manipulative man who couldn't handle the fact that I was growing as a person and wanting more from life." She talked for 20 minutes, painting herself as the victim of an emotionally abusive marriage, claiming that I'd isolated her from friends and controlled her finances. She said that her connection with Liam had been spiritual and pure, and that I'd destroyed their relationship because I couldn't stand to see her happy. "Cameron is using his money and his connections to ruin my life because I had the courage to leave him," she concluded. "He's trying to destroy my career, my reputation, my ability to support myself. This is what financial abuse looks like." The video was a disaster. The comments started immediately. "We literally saw you cheating at the airport." "Spiritual connection? Is that what we're calling affairs now? Your husband supported your lifestyle for years while you planned to leave him. Who's the abuser here?" "This is so manipulative. Take responsibility for your actions. Stop playing victim, you made your choices." But the real problem with Vanessa's video wasn't the negative comments. The real problem was that she'd just committed defamation on a recorded public platform. I called my lawyer. "Tom, I need you to watch a video and tell me if I have grounds for a defamation lawsuit." 20 minutes later, he called me back. "Cameron, she just handed you a slam dunk case. Everything she said about you is demonstrably false. She said it on a public platform, and it's clearly damaging to your reputation. You could sue her for everything she's got. She doesn't have anything. Then you could get a judgment that follows her for the rest of her life. Every dollar she ever earns, you'd have a claim to. Set it up. The lawsuit was filed on Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, Vanessa's remaining brand partnerships had been canceled. By Tuesday, her Instagram account had been reported so many times for harassment that it was temporarily suspended. On Wednesday, she showed up at the dealership again. This time, she looked broken. Not just tired or desperate, but genuinely defeated. She'd lost more weight, her clothes looked like they'd come from a donation bin, and she had the hollow-eyed look of someone who hadn't been sleeping. "Cameron, please. We need to talk. My lawyer says we shouldn't talk directly. All communication should go through legal channels. I can't afford a lawyer. That's not my problem. I'll delete the video. I'll post an apology. I'll do whatever you want. It's too late for that. You made your choice when you decided to lie about me on social media. I was desperate. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly enough to plan an affair for 6 months. You were thinking clearly enough to use our money to fund your deception. You were thinking clearly enough to humiliate me in Dubai and then try to play victim when it didn't work out." She started crying, but this time it looked real. Not performed, not calculated, just genuine despair. "What do you want from me, Cameron? What will it take for you to stop? I want you to disappear. I want you to stop using my name, stop talking about our marriage, stop trying to make money off the drama you created. I want you to get a real job and build a real life that doesn't depend on social media or rich men or playing victim. And if I do that, then maybe, in a few years, when you've proven that you can take responsibility for your actions and live like an adult, I might consider dropping the lawsuit. A few years? However long it takes for you to understand that actions have consequences." She wiped her eyes and looked around the showroom, taking in the luxury cars and the successful business I'd built without her help. "I used to think this place was beneath me," she said quietly. "All these expensive cars for rich people with more money than sense. I thought I was better than this. And now? Now I realize that this is real. You built something real, something that lasts, something that helps people and employs people and contributes to the community. All I ever built was an illusion." It was the first honest thing she'd said to me in months. "It's not too late to build something real, Vanessa. But you have to start with the truth about who you are, what you want, and what you're willing to work for." She nodded and walked toward the door. Then she stopped and turned back. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not because I got caught, not because it didn't work out the way I planned, but because I hurt you. You deserved better than what I gave you." "Yes," I said. "I did." After she left, Derek came over to me. "Think she means it? Does it matter? She made her choices, and now she gets to live with them. Whether she learns from this or not is up to her. And you? You feel better now?" I looked around my dealership, at the business I'd built, at the life I'd created through honest work and fair dealing. Then I thought about Vanessa, sleeping in a shelter, her social media career destroyed, her reputation in ruins, facing years of legal and financial consequences for the choices she'd made. "I feel like justice was served," I said, "and sometimes that's enough." 6 months later, I heard through Brenda's gossip network that Vanessa had gotten a job at a call center and was living in a studio apartment across town. She'd deleted all her social media accounts and was apparently trying to build a quiet, normal life away from the internet fame she'd once craved. Liam, according to the same sources, had moved to California and was running the same spiritual guru scam on a new group of wealthy, lonely women. As for me, I kept running my dealership, selling luxury cars to people who could afford them, and living an honest life built on real achievements rather than social media illusions. Sometimes the good guys do win, sometimes justice is served, and sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people face the natural consequences of their own choices. The lawsuit is still pending. Vanessa still owes me for 7 years of lies, 6 months of planning betrayal, and one very expensive lesson about the difference between fantasy and reality. I'm in no hurry to collect. Some debts are worth more when they're left outstanding, a permanent reminder that actions have consequences and choices have costs. In the end, Vanessa got exactly what she wanted: freedom from our boring, stable, honest marriage. And I got exactly what I deserved: freedom from a woman who valued excitement more than integrity.